Hey, what's up guys? It's Art Book Addiction here, and we're here with a new artist journey video. So today, we're going to be talking about the best way to practice, okay? So there are many ways of practicing art, different methods by like a million different people, right? And I just wanted to kind of give my take on what I think are like good practices versus bad practices, ways to improve yourself effectively, you know what I mean? And to make your time more efficient, right? And to give you the ability to get better at a quicker pace and produce things that you really enjoy, right? So yeah, that's what we talk about today. But before we start the video, please hit that like, hit that subscribe, check out my Prince and Patreon if you want to support the channel, consider becoming a channel member. And with that, let's get into it. So, what are the best methods to do your work, right? Basically for me, right, in my journey and like what I've seen from other people, right, in my eyes, and I've touted this for years, right, I've probably said it in many other videos, right, is to make finished work, okay, right? You think like, that's very simple, but it's hard to accomplish, right? It's hard to actually pull off, right? Especially for younger artists, okay? So if you're a younger artist, I implore you, finish the work that you're working on, okay? Whatever it is, whatever you make, finish it, okay? Right? I am not a sketch artist, okay? I am an illustration artist, okay? Where I make a piece, I finish it, it's good, I like it, I move on, okay? Right? Because in my mind, there is a cycle of painting, or cycle of artwork, rather, right? Which is like, you start, you get your initial line work down, right? You do the shading, right? You do the like base level shading, right? Then you do the blocking of colors and everything, right? Then you do the lights, you render, okay? Get to a good finish, okay? And then you're done, all right? So, and then like, the like how big those are, like render could take actually like longer than, other parts, depending on where you are at, right? But the whole point is that you hit all the points of the circle, right? And the boop, 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 done, move on, okay? Like you want to be someone who makes finished work every single time, right? Because finishing is a skill, okay? Finishing is one of the most important skills that like, like for your projects, think about it. Like if you can't finish smaller projects, right? Then how are you ever gonna finish a large scale project like your story or whatever? You know what I mean? Like making a short film or some shit. You know what I mean? Or making like a line of pieces that or like a comic. You know what I mean? That requires dedication. It requires you to have the ability to finish. Okay, right? So in my eyes, that's the best method, right? But I've like I said, I've touted that for years, right? But I kind of wanted to get more into like bad practices versus good practices, right? So like I wanted to give you like the straight up answer right away, so that we could go into like the minutia of like what are like what are like the little things, right? So another thing that I see a lot, right? And I used to do myself, right? I used to do myself a lot. Distracted work, okay? What does that mean? It means you're working and you have like a podcast on, or you have a video on, or you just have like the internet close to you, okay? Right? And back when I was doing digital, I would often listen to podcasts or whatever, right? And have something with like the being connected to the internet, right? And the problem with the internet and the problem with having access at all times is that you could easily get distracted, right? You could easily like look at the video and then like get caught up in the video for a little bit and then go back, right? And like suffice to say that it distracts you, right? I used to do this thing where I would time myself to see how much I was actually working, right? Where I would work, right? And I would activate a stopwatch, right? And like if I stopped working, I would immediately stop it, right? And I would do that for a couple sessions, just to see like of time efficiency wise, am I really actually being that efficient, right? And I found that in a 3 hour period, right, or 3 to 4 hour period, when I looked at the stopwatch, I would work about an hour and a half, okay, right, and that really shows how distracted your work really is, okay. I got like about half the time is spent being distracted, okay. That is significant. You get what I'm saying, right? And the thing is, sorry, I have something in my throat. The thing is that distracted work like pulls you out of the flow state, okay, right? It stops you from interacting with the muse, right? There's something in the way between your connection, right? So if you're just listening to music, no problem. The music is fine, right? It allows you to flow and everything, right? But like the problem is like if you're working and you have other things distracting you, especially like YouTube, okay, especially like having a video there, right? Like if you have a video or a podcast that you know you're not gonna look at, right? I would say that's better, right? But I wouldn't say like you have to just remove the thing that you like listening to completely, right? But what I would implore you to do is to have it in the background and like minimize it, okay? And then like just have, like if you're doing digital, just have Photoshop there, right? If you're doing traditional, this is much easier, right? Just put on the music, you know, start working, and that's it, right? But what we're looking for is focused work, okay? And I know, you know, that's been said, you know what I mean? Like, but like it's actually really important, okay? Because like the thing is like for me right now, I can only work for about like 3 hours max, okay? Right? And like that's because of my hands. It's because of my, you know, physical disability, right? But those 3 hours, like as I've gone forward, as I've gotten better, as I've made crazier artwork, I've made those 3 hours so much more significant as I worked more, okay, right? And I see people who work, they're like, I worked for like 20 hours, blah, 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 you know, right? And I look at their work and I'm like, this doesn't look like 20 hours worth of work, okay? It really doesn't, you know what I mean? I've seen people who, like, you know, go into class and they're like, oh my god, like, I worked 15 hours, and it's like, it looks like you worked for 15 minutes, dude, okay, right? And, like, you know, if you, I bet you, if you go to their place, look and watch them work, you'll realize the entire time they just have their work pulled up and then they're just staring at YouTube, dude, okay? Or doing something else, right? Always pulling themselves away from the artwork, right? The best way is to immerse yourself in the artwork. Let it possess you, okay? Let the muse come in and use you as her instrument, okay? Uninterrupted, okay? Right? So for me, I work for about like an hour. I take a like a 15-minute break, and then I work for, you know, the rest of the time, right? So it's not bad to take a break, you know, because sometimes you gotta pull yourself away, take a minute to look at it, you know what I mean? But sometimes you need to just step away for a little bit, okay? But then boom, re-enter, same dedication, and until you finish off the session, okay? Right? So what I would say is like around the halfway mark of however long you work, around the halfway mark, okay? Or I say like, you know, if you're working like really like long hours, I say every hour, you know, take like a 15-minute break. You know what I mean? Okay? Use that time to like, you could use that time to look at YouTube and like recompose yourself, right? So it's almost like sectioning off the distraction to certain points, right? And that way you could still like, oh, I still want to look at videos and stuff like that, right? But then your work is just much more efficient, okay? Right? And like, I'm telling you, dude, if you keep doing that, if you keep working on that, the results will come. Okay, the results will be like staggering. Okay, real focused work. Okay, like listen, I'd rather you work for an hour focused than working for 6 hours unfocused. Okay, 1 hour of focused work is worth more than that. Is worth more than any distracted work. Okay, true focused work is so much more efficient. Okay, and will allow you to get things done in a timely manner, and like you could pace yourself and you know the time. You know what I mean, right? And it's like going to the gym. You know what I mean? You go to the gym, you first start, you suck ass, right? You're and like, but like as you get better, the time you spend in the gym is less. The workouts are more efficient. You know what I mean, right? So it's just one of those things where, like with practice and a certain rule set, you can get really really good in a certain like amount of time, right? And this will make you more efficient. It will lead, and like if you add finishing your work to it, dynamite, dude. Dynamite. Okay, it's really honestly how I gotten like where I am in my artist journey, right? And the thing is like I see so many people distracted working, right? I have friends who are like pretty high level, right? And they still are distracted working. And the thing is like they produce good work. It's just they're so slow. Okay, they're just like it just takes them forever to produce something, right? And you don't want to be like that. Okay, like YouTube will always be there. Okay, the video that you want to watch always will be there. Okay, when it's art time, you art. Okay, right? Like I've seen a lot of writers talk about this where they're like they just type on a typewriter. You know what I mean? Because they don't want any form of like, and like that's the best method, dude. Real concentrated work. Okay, and you set a certain time from this time to this time. Okay, and you always work within that time. That is the magic hour. Okay, that is the time for like the muse knows, and you both show up. You get what I'm saying, right? And consistent practice. Okay, right? You okay, for me, I work 5 days a week, weekends off. Okay, like a job. Okay, right? That's like for me, that's what works. For you, you can do what you want, right? But I recommend you, okay, to do it regularly, okay? Like consistent, if not every day, right? Then a little bit less, okay? Like I said, you can take the weekends off. Every other day, you're working, okay? Right? If you're in school, you're gonna have to work weekends, okay? But if you're in art school, you're gonna have to work every day, no matter what. That's just that's just the way. There's very few days where you're not working, okay? But how you put that work into your time schedule, that's that can make all the difference, right? When I was in school, I lived in San Francisco, right? You had to walk everywhere. Like classes were far away sometimes, right? You had to walk there, so you don't have you have to manage time like in so many different ways, okay, right? And you have to like manage that with eating food, no like being able to like cooking. That's really hard when you're trying to do stuff, right? And you're in school full time, right? And like different locations, so you have to be able to time manage like how long it takes to go there, right? So another thing that I want to really emphasize is time management, okay, right? If you're in art school right now, time management is king, dude, okay? And not everyone learns it, okay? Not everyone learns it. You will have to, okay, right? Like if you don't, right, you could be doing all-nighters all the time, and then you'll be distracted, and it's all chaotic, dude, right? You need to train yourself almost like militantly to do things in the right order at the right time, okay? And to know here's how I do it. I have a modular system, okay, where things are kind of separated into like 3-hour chunks, okay, right? And those 3-hour chunks can be used for whatever. One chunk could be used for eating food. One chunk could be used for like hanging out with friends, right? A chunk could be used for doing the work, right? Sometimes you'll need 2 chunks, right? right? And then because like when you're doing when you once you know how much work you can get done in that chunk, right? Then you could be like, okay, well I'm pretty sure that I require like 4 more chunks to get this piece done, right? And so you could parse it out through the week, right? Depending on like how much, like when the class is, when you're gonna turn it in, you know what I mean? But being time efficient, scheduling things, understanding when and where you're supposed to do something, right? I never wrote things down, okay? I never wrote like I'm gonna do this thing at this time, I'm gonna do this thing at this time. Like, no, I created a cycle, right, in which I work and I live and I know, and so like I made it efficient just on its own, and I just live that way, so it became habit, right? You don't need to write things down. Of course, it would be optimal for you to understand what your schedule is, right? Maybe you'll need to do it in the beginning of your next semester so that you understand where you need to be, when you need to be, you know, what classes you know take more work, what classes take less work, right? But being able to efficiently use your time and to time manage correctly will mean one thing, dude. You will have extra time, okay? Right? Which other people feel like they never have, okay? Right? After my second year, I had a real wake-up call, okay? Where I realized if I don't time manage well, I'm fucked, okay? And once I did it, once I started implementing it, it wasn't perfect at first, but it became better as I did it more, right? I never had an all-nighter after that. Never. Not a single one. I always slept at like 12 to 1 o'clock, right? At least, like, I went to bed at 12, and then, you sometimes you take longer to fall asleep, but I always was able to sleep on time. And I woke up maybe around 7, 8, or 9, right? And then, the machine goes again, right? You want to be efficient, okay? Right? Part of being an artist is having chaos come at you and you solving it with order, okay? Right? And like that's how you can get better. You know what I mean? So it's like on a micro scale and on a macro scale, okay? Right? So if you do the little things right, the big things will turn out better, right? You get what I'm saying? Right? Being efficient, knowing yourself, right? Practicing well and doing all these, and like not distracting yourself, doing these little things, right? Like, cumulatively, and if you keep going with it, will just make you such a better artist, okay? I really, really mean that, okay? Like I for me, when I see some people work, I'm just like, dude, you're like molasses, dude, okay? You're like snails are faster than you. You know what I mean? Like if the deadly snail that, like, if it touches you, you're dead. Like that snail's speeding past you. It's gonna catch you up and you're dead, dude. And what's dead is your artist's career, dude. Okay, right? So you gotta learn how to how to be efficient. Okay, I don't want to say go fast. Okay, I want to say that being efficient will lend itself to more speed. Okay, so speaking of speed, so almost contradictory to what I've been saying, right? When you're working, the number one flaw that I see in younger artists is that they're rushing, dude. They're rushing to get to the part that they like, okay? They're rushing to finish the line work. They're rushing to get to the render, okay? They're rushing so that it looks pretty, okay? Right? Wrong. Every time it's wrong, okay? Right? And you see people who are really good, who are fantastic, right? And are like actually really, really fast. What I see is that they are working slow, deliberately at first, okay? When you're doing the drawing, this is the time to be slow. This is the time to measure. This is the time to draw the thing correctly, okay? And you go, boop, that's correct. Boop, that's correct. Boop, 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 boop. You know what I mean? And as you get better at it, you're gonna be like, oh, okay, there's a mistake here, fix it. Boom, okay? And the better you get at that, okay, slowing down, working correctly, okay, your work is gonna fucking get so much better. And then people are gonna look at you and be like, how is he so fast? How is he working so fast? Okay? And you'll see that other people are just like they're kind of like scribbling just to get something down, right? Just to, you know, right? And it's like, and then you'll realize like, oh, dude, that was the wrong method. And I used to do that because I used to do that too, right? I used to like try to get something down as quick as possible, and it's like, oh, I can fix it later. I can mask it down. And it's like no, wrong way. Slow down, get it right first, okay? Then when everything is solid, when the line work is solid, you have a good drawing, then you could do what have you. You know what I mean? Unless it's like a gesture class, unless it's like a model class where you need to be fast, and even then, I would say it'd be better to be accurate and a little bit slower, okay, than trying to be fast and inaccurate, okay, right? I see that so many, like, that's the number one flaw of younger artists, guys, okay? So if you see yourself and you're like, you know, like you start and you're gonna like, I just gotta dive in and like, you know, I'll fix it on the way. It's like, no, slow down, place a mark, look at the thing, measure, you know, use your pencil to find the angle. That one, next line. That one, next line. Okay, work like that. Okay, because you know what? I'm telling you, you look at your teachers. That's exactly how they work. Okay, they're accurate. Okay, they're methodical. They're slow paced at first. Okay, and then the second that the drawing is solid, right, they begin the render. Okay, and then it's like done. Okay, like I've literally seen a teacher who, like, you know, he's doing his meticulous art, like line work, right, just get everything in the right spot, okay, and then he would hit it with the charcoal, and then he blew it off, and it was like a masterpiece, dude. Okay, right? It was like how the hell did that just even happen? Okay, it looked like magic in front of your eyes. Okay, and the reason it does is because they know the secret, dude. They know the secret. Okay, it is that drawing is more important than render. Render can be very easy. Okay, right? And like, you know, I know, like, for younger artists that's shocking, dude, because render is the hardest thing for people, right? But render is a skill. Okay, you get good at it, and once you get really good at it and you understand how light works and how things are working, then you'll understand that the line work is actually the harder part. You know what I mean? Right? So get that line work down. Make sure the drawing is good. Okay, make sure the drawing is good before you start rendering, because like the way I describe it is like you need to have the structure there. Okay, if you don't have the structure there, then the render is rendering on like this really piece of shit, like woo, and it's gonna look weird. Okay, if you ever had a drawing where the render is good but the structure is off, it's gonna look bad. Okay, like I've seen people where like they have a beautifully rendered face, except the eye is like this. It's like, you know, and it's like, it looks like they had like a stroke. You know what I mean? And then it's just like, what was the point of the render? What was the point of all that when it looks like, you know, you're polishing a turd, as one of my teachers would say, right? You're polishing a turd. Make sure the thing underneath is good, and then from there you could do whatever you want. Okay, right? And then you could, you know, all that stuff, right? Another thing. Do not rely on flair. I see so many artists do this, especially on TikTok. Okay, right? You know, I don't know, his name is like Madness or some shit, right? Where he like he does all this shit, puts on tape and shit, right? Like that's all flair. That's all like whoa, you know what I mean, right? It's all like things to like impress the normal viewer. Okay, don't believe in that shit. That shit is bullshit. Okay, right? It will only it's a crutch for people who don't work. So like, you know, a lot of people, they do partial faces, like you know, the eyes, the part that I'm really good at, you know, oh, like this part, like I'll remove that, right? And like, it's like, okay, here's a pencil, draw that face, okay, like correctly, Okay, they can't do it. They can't do it. Something will be off. You know what I mean, right? Or draw, like they're good at faces. Okay, draw a figure. Okay, their figure sucks. Okay, so that's another part of practice. Okay, being able to do all the things in art. Okay, okay, landscape, figure. Okay, um, faces. Okay, you know what I mean? Cityscapes, right? Mechanical drawings, as in like a car. You know what I mean, right? Being able to like create, okay, design. You know what I mean, right? Let's say like so like that's the difference between copying a car versus like making your own like car design, right? Or making a character design, right? These are all different skills that are separate from each other, but they do have crossover, but they are separate from one another. And to leave one unpracticed will leave a weakness in your art arsenal. Okay, right? As an artist, from a young age, I was always someone who wanted to do different things. Okay, like I would work in this medium, and I would try a different medium, and then I would try, and then I went to digital for a bit, right? And the thing is, like, you don't want to swap these things like quickly and like I'll go here, then I'll go here, then I'll go here, then I'll go here. Then you're just being inconsistent. What you want to do is do a deep dive into whatever it is, right? So like you're like, hey, I want to oil paint. Dive deep into that shit, okay? Work on that for like maybe like an entire year, okay? Right? If not a couple months, you know what I mean? Or you could like do that while you do your regular work, you know what I mean? To build up that skill. And remember that you don't need to post everything, dude. You don't need to post all your work, right? Not all your work is meant for is it Instagram worthy or whatever, you know what I mean? But it's worth the practice, okay? You get what I'm saying, right? So that you can build up the variety of skills that you have, okay? So that when the time comes and you need those skills, you can implement them, okay? Because I see so many artists, they're strong in one way, weak in another way, right? Strong in something, weak in another thing, right? And that weakness is holding them back, okay? Right? And what you want to do, okay, and what I've really strived for in my art career, right, is to have no weaknesses and excel in certain parameters, okay, right? So you have weaknesses and you know what they are, and you need to work on them, okay, right? So like for me, right, I was terrible with lying. I suck at lying, not drawing, but like ink work. You know what I mean? Like doing very precise ink work. I was really bad at it. Doing cartoon characters, really bad. I had a hard time understanding how to design things, right? But I knew that about myself, right? And so I plunged myself into those depths. I was very honest about my artwork. Okay, I was honest to myself. I was honest to the teacher. I was honest to the other students, right? And you know what that means? It means that at first you're gonna suck ass, dude. Okay, and people are gonna like go, oh, you know what I mean? So that but it doesn't matter, because if you're honest to yourself and to others, right, and to your work, okay, you're gonna get better. You're gonna get better, and it's gonna start off bad, but then the teacher is gonna come in. They're gonna tell you like, oh, you should do this, this, and this, right? And you're like, okay, you absorb it, okay, and you're honest every time, okay. What do I mean by honest? It means that you're not drawing to impress. It means you're drawing to show what you actually know, and you're trying to implement what the teacher has taught you, okay, right? Because what the teacher's teaching is probably new info, okay. So you need to go in, listen, and allow their teaching to come through you, okay, right? Don't do your old your method, like oh, I have a style, and I stick to that style. Wrong freaking way, okay. I have a friend who teaches sometimes, and he had a student who I guess maybe at first he underestimated my friend's style, right? Or like his method of working, right? And so he didn't listen to what my friend was saying, right? and the other students did, and some of them like have never drawn before, right? They followed him step by step, okay, step by step, and like they produced something that they were really proud of. That one guy who didn't, who tried to draw like, I'm gonna draw using squares, you know, like he was doing they were doing a still life, right? And like my friend was like, draw what you see, and he was like, no, I'm gonna use squares to create the structure, right? And not only was he less accurate, okay, don't draw in squares, by the way, okay, like that like that method is only really for design. You get what I'm saying, right? And even then, like it's not that useful. Like the fact that every art tuber touts it, and like that means it's not actually that crazy, okay, right? And people would be like, oh, Kim Jong-gi does that, blah, 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 you know what I mean, right? And it's like he does that in his head, dude. He doesn't actually do that on the page, okay? So like let's just get that argument out of the way, right? Yeah, because Kim Jong-gi actually like knows structure and you know all that stuff, right? Like you don't know that, okay, right? You can't draw an invisible square in your head for what's happening. You get what I'm saying, right? But anyway, whatever. So like the results happened with the people who follow the directions of the teacher, right? When the teacher is there to teach you something, you follow their method, okay? Like, even if you suck at first because you're unfamiliar, right? Because what you're trying to learn is what they know, okay? And then when the time comes and you leave the class, you know, you don't try to draw exactly like them. You take the practices that you learned from that, and then you implement it into your own work, okay? And then, like, by the end of like, a semester, you should have, like, 4 teachers worth of knowledge, you know what I mean? That are, like, okay, like, well, I know I'm so much better at this because of this teacher, I'm so much better at this, and then like you kind of become like a culmination of all those teachings, and then like that's your method, you know what I mean? And like, you know, as you learn, you add more and you add more, and then that knowledge becomes like one kind of giant conglomerate of art that will become your art, okay? So that's really the best way to practice, okay, right? Focus in, listen, okay, pay attention, okay? There are a lot of things. This video is going a little bit long, but yeah, so I would say that these are some of the best methods that I've learned from, the methods that I would implore for you guys to study, right? Especially if you're in art school, if you want to be a professional, right? I implore you to listen to the things that I've said right now, and really maybe listen to it again if you feel like you're distracted and your things aren't working out for you, right? But you know, keep drawing, guys. Stay dedicated, stay focused, okay? Don't get distracted, number one, okay? Produce finished work, and like in time, if you make and design your machine, which is your process, really good, the results will come, okay? Like the more you produce, the more the results will come, the better you'll get better every piece, dude, okay? And that's really the goal, right? Just to get better every time and produce work that becomes not just like better but truer, okay, right? But that's a discussion for another time. Please, if you enjoyed this video, hit that like, hit that subscribe, check out my Princeton Patreon if you want to support the channel, consider becoming a channel member, ring that bell for notification, all that bullshit, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Thanks a lot.